starts. There'll be a lot going on there. I think we got Dr. Huff coming on, Matthew Tierman, some updates on the Kerry Lake, and it's a lot of situations get updated. Dave Walsh, one more time, and you've warned about this, with all this kind of woke, you got windmills. By the way, we're all for sustainability. If you can, we're supposed to be stewards of the earth. So the way that you can do this and do it appropriately, it makes sense, and you gotta investigate all these. But you also have to understand the basic law of physics, right? You can't just wish physics away. Is the electrical grid the American people have been able to depend upon, I don't know, since 1910 or 1920, right? Is for 100 years, let's say. Is it going to be, is there a possibility of mass failures here during this bitter cold snap that we're going to have over the next, I don't know, week?
Well, there is. We've put ourselves at risk. Okay, one has been the hundreds of billions spent on subsidizing renewables over the past 15 years. That has been huge, the investment in them, the subsidies in them. But the bigger sin has been the advanced and rapid decline and tear down of baseload continuous duty energy sources for electricity, coal and nuclear, while renewables have been built up, and they're not ready for prime time because of their intermittency and part-time nature. So of these 5 states where governors have come out already with warnings and various executive orders, West Virginia, Oklahoma, New York, and Connecticut all have in them concerns about states of emergency on electricity also, which is a new thing for us in cold times. And why is that happening? New York, for example, shut down the Indian Point nuclear power plant a few years ago, 2,000 megawatts of continuous baseload nighttime duty electricity for cold and hot periods. Was 25% of New York City's energy supply for electricity. That's gone. Connecticut also, and New York, major importers of electricity from Canada. So when you have times like these, it's also even colder in Canada. Their demand for electricity for heating grows. The what's left to export declines, puts New York and Connecticut in more risk. Oklahoma, the risk issue is it's more than Texas, 39% dependent on wind energy now. When it's below zero, generally speaking, unless these wind turbine blades are winterized or have de-icing systems embedded in them, which many of those in Oklahoma and Texas do not, they don't work. They also don't operate at 50 mile an hour plus wind speeds. So you've got shortages of electricity in Oklahoma being broadcast by the governor as a concern. And finally, Wisconsin, West Virginia. West Virginia is part of the PJM system. Wisconsin, part of the MISO system. MISO itself, just in the last year, that's Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, generally 14 state region, have reduced 4 more gigawatts of baseload coal and nuclear capacity just since last winter. That's 4 million people worth of baseload continuous nighttime, when, by the way, it's the coldest continuous duty electricity. So Wisconsin and West Virginia now talking about possible electricity shortages.
I want to have you back on to drill on this next week deeper. Not your back, but I got BD coming up. We're going to talk about Ukraine and social media and the administrative state part of it. But you just came back from Europe. Give me a couple of minutes on the status of the energy situation one, given their madness of filing Greta Thunberg, but number 2, the whole situation with the Ukraine war, sir.
Well, unfortunately, the EU has doubled down on its green policies now with the imposition of higher duties and tariffs on any products containing man-caused CO2, specifically, in their view, fossil fuel imports will have now additional duties and tariffs in the middle of the worst energy shortage Europe has seen since World War II. That's rather amazing. The UK specifically, 14 million people now living under the poverty level due to, among many other things, the very high cost of energy. Saw a lot of evidence in London, in nice districts, of an unprecedented number of people now living in the streets, on sidewalks, bundled up in sleeping bags on the sidewalks, beginning to look more like San Francisco than London, due to the cost of living and the financial issues there. While they're importing natural gas from us and a few other sources such as Norway at 4 times the cost of what it would cost themselves. England is full of natural gas. Most of the folks we talk to over there are very, very familiar with the fact that the government basically has taken a green position to sit on the gas they have underfoot and instead happily import LNG at 4 times the cost from the U.S., from Qatar, from Norway. So there's the devastation read through the economy. Most folks recognize why this is. It's these policies. Rather
Dave,
unbelievable.
How can people follow you? We look forward to your back, and we can get you more integrated back into the show. How do people follow you, sir?
Hey, Merry Christmas to everybody in the posse, and it's Dave Walsh Energy on Getter. Thank you, Steve. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Brother Walsh.